Good morning everyone, how y'all doing? Today we're in our front yard and this part of our garden faces south. Right now it's still early morning and the majority of our yard, well, the majority of it, is shaded by 3 large redwoods until about 10 o'clock, and then it's in the sun pretty much the entire day. We normally do just one tour of this area once a year, and that's in June, but sometimes you get busy, and here we are almost the second week of July, and I'm glad we're doing it right now because we're going to have a spread of 10 days of between 101 and 108 temperature, and I'm not sure what the garden will look like after those 10 days. So let me take you up here by the Dianthus. We planted this Dianthus last November, and this is the first time I've ever utilized it in my garden, and so far so good. We've already had several days in the 100-degree temperatures, and they're doing very well. And I've trimmed them. I did a hard prune a few months ago, and they're almost nearly touching each other now. I think it's a great addition, and I like that I used, I think, 3 or 4 different colors. I wanted to show you the area over here by the fountain. I trimmed the Adiago grass this last spring, and I didn't realize that it was getting as big as it is, so we're going to have to separate that because it just looks a little too woolly right here. And then you'll see underneath the rose tree, that is Artemisia, and part of me really wanted to pull that so you didn't see that it was half dead. I thought I was overwatering it because we do have drip run to it. One day I was heavily watering because it was 105, and the next morning it looked perky. And I thought, oh, I have a feeling it hasn't been receiving enough water, that we probably should have put a few more emitters around that area. So I just, you know, part of me wanted to not show that not so pretty part, but that was a mistake that, you know, and again, this was the first time I've ever planted Artemisia, so I will know next time that it needs a little bit more water when it's facing south. Of course, this is the Agapanthus, and there are parts of them that you'll see where the bloom has already fallen off. They don't last very long, but they sure are a really pretty show when they're all in bloom. Rockenfuchsia salvia, and then bandana pink lantana in the back, some red fountain grass, and then these kind of chartreuse green and yellow plants. This is sunshine Legustrum. Each year I plant ruby slipper Coleus, and each year I keep thinking I'm going to change it up and plant a different kind of Coleus, but I just so love the deep red with the lime green margins, and this I believe is my 3rd year planting it. In the back you will notice that I did pull the Limelight Prime hydrangea. I'm going to have to rethink that area. Well, I did rethink it. We landed up putting columbine back there. The Limelight had broken dormancy and had leaves on it. It just didn't have very many leaves on it, so I'm not sure if this area doesn't get enough sun for the Limelight Prime, so I will put it in a different part of our garden. This is the west side of our house, and right here I planted a couple of evening rose hibiscus from Proven Winners. I think I told you last year when I planted them it got really hot and I had to put an umbrella over them. Thought I almost lost them, but they're doing amazing and have already been blooming. Behind that I have some dwarf butterfly bush that you'll see looks a little sad because most of it's been broken off, and then a more mature one here, and I'll put the names up on the screen for you guys. My euonymus that I need to trim and kind of shape a little bit in the back. I wanted to explain the reason why some of these butterfly bushes look a little bit broken. We've I think, have a squirrel that is hanging out over here. We have actually several squirrels. Since we have 6 redwood trees, there's a large squirrel population in our neighborhood because all these homes were built in the 70s, so all these trees are very, very mature. And I just have a feeling that in their quest for running around, and because they're quick little guys, they've broken a few branches off. Dusty Miller up here in the front that I've let flower, and I've never let it flower before, but I'll probably trim that back here pretty soon. Around that, I have some blanket flower, petunias, vincas. Some are new and some are 3 years old. You can tell the ones that are a little bit more mature. Those are the ones that I've left in the ground. A lot of them didn't make it this last year, but the ones that did, I let them stay. And then off to the side here, I wanted to show you right just in front of the hibiscus is a plant called Cistus Mickey. And if I can find a photo of the flower that it produces, I have a few of those. I'd like to get more, but the garden center only had a couple of those. And I really like the chartreuse color of that. Off to the side here near the ranch fencing, I have the Plumbago. And I really love that blue color that it produces. The color is almost identical to the Agapanthus. As we move south along the ranch fencing, you will see some diamond frost Euphorbia. Those have been in the ground for 3 years now. We can keep them in the ground and they do very well here. I've actually never had to prune them back. They stay flowered all through the year. They're not as full during the winter as they are in the spring and summer, but I think I've only used diamond frost Euphorbia in a container once or twice. I like it in the ground. And then behind that, you will see the Dahlias that I planted last year, and they're coming along. I don't think I've pinched these. For the first time, I've pinched the ones up front, but those are doing really well. Then alongside here, the Society garlic, which is super strong smell, but I love the texture and the color. Those are all beginning to fill in. And all the leaves that you see here on the ground are the camphor leaves, and we picked them all up late last night, and you can see just how much they drop. It almost looks like we need to rake again, and we do that. We rake about 2-3 times a week for all the camphor leaves that want to continue to fall. The camphor tree will stop losing its leaves right around October. So between October and March, this area of our yard will look very clean and you won't see any leaf drop whatsoever. There's a few things that I added new this year and a few things that I took out. When we did the David Austin roses last year, we separated some of the geraniums. But what I did mostly is pulled out quite a bit of daylilies. They seem to self-seed and multiply. And for the most part, I'm okay with that, but I wanted just to add a little bit more color because once these are finished blooming, all you see is the grassy texture. So I added some salvia and some Merlot lavender. And this Merlot lavender can take our heat. I forget what zone it is, but I'll make sure I put it up on the screen. And all you need, when you just get right near it, you can smell the lavender. And then of course you can see my messy flower bed with all the leaves. It looks like we haven't raked it, but we raked it less than 12 hours ago. And it's already messy again. Let me bring you around the front here to my African daisies. These are our African daisies, and I lost a few of them last year, and I could not find enough here to finish the end. So I just added a few purple petunias. I know it looks a little funny because I had the whole entire border rimmed with it, but I'm not willing to take all the daisies out just because I can't find the ones here at the end, so that's okay. I'm gonna hold out hope that I'll find some more next spring. Then off to the side here are the David Austin roses. And then we planted, I think, 18 or 20 dahlias right here. Most of them I have pinched. This is really only my second year growing them. And you can tell I haven't staked them. And one of them has already bloomed this year, the Kelvin Floodlight. I'll actually show you, it's this one right here. And it's getting ready to put on another bloom. And these are the Olivia Rose Austin roses, and I'll make sure that I insert photos when they were in full bloom. But it gets hot very quickly here in Central California, and I think it was either April or May that they were all in full bloom, and I'm sure I'll get another flush before the summer's out. On this west side of our yard, I have placed 3 fountain grasses kind of intermixed throughout the flower bed. Even though I trimmed it down to what, maybe 12 inches, it will get even larger than it already is now. And I love the texture and the color of it that it adds in the flower bed. And let me take you to our walkway. Last year I planted petunias, and they were great for a few weeks, and then they slowly began to die. And I think I told you guys that I believe I overwatered them, and I landed up putting vincas in here. I think that's what I did. I don't remember now, but I think it was vincas. And I thought, I'm going to try petunias one more time. So far so good. I have not overwatered them, and you can tell that the budworm gets to them from time to time. I spray them, and this is the first year I bought a pump sprayer, and I've used concentrate, and I kind of went light on the dosage, and this last time I kind of dosed it a little heavier. So I think I'll use 1.5 doses when I mix it in the pump sprayer, and I do spray them every week. We planted over 300 petunias. It doesn't look like that when you're glancing at the walkway. It doesn't seem like it's 300 petunias, but it is. It was a lot of work. I haven't added anything new in this flower bed, and you will see patches where the lemon balsedum is gone, and that's just been me raking up the redwood droppings. I have heuchera, conocloa, geraniums, and some impatiens, and then you'll see the agapanthus as well. And the lemon balsedum I keep in here year round. It's kind of dark underneath our redwoods, and so all these bright lime greens kind of add a little bit of brightness underneath all this shade. The impatiens will stay here all the way up until our first frost, and then you'll start seeing them kind of die out, and then I pull them all out. But each year I like to add that color, since they do so well in the shade. And surprisingly, in our heat, they do well. About 1.5 months, 2 months ago, we planted this combination Calibrachoa and Petunia mix here. And I just wanted to show you how full it is since we planted it a few months ago. And it's weird because I have some of these still that I haven't yet planted, and the ones that are in the shade are more of a bright yellow, where these in the sun kind of get a little orange hinge to, and a little bit of an orange tinge to them. I think each gardener has many failures and successes each year. Doesn't matter how many years you've been gardening. And when you garden in an extreme weather environment like we do, very mild winters, but our summers are brutal. They're very unforgiving. When we will get to 108 this week, even though the temperature when you look up the weather app, it'll say, oh, it'll cool down to 71. I will be shocked if it does. You can be up at 7 a.m. and it'll already be 80, 82 degrees. So what happens is our soil never really gets a break from that heat. And I'm letting you know that because it has taken me a long time to understand how to garden in this environment with just how hot it is. And I'm still learning. But I think that this is one of the first years that I've found a combination of plants that I'm not having to always run out the front door and, you know, have the hose on it because I've put it in the wrong spot with the sun, or, you know, when it comes to plants, I would say sun and shade and water are one of your two key elements on understanding where to place your plants. And this year I feel like I've found a good combination of plants that work in my garden. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a really fun summer. Stay cool and we'll see you soon. Bye.